Welcome to Eastern High School's Athletics Podcast. Today we join Coach Shep, Coach Graves, and Coach Graham as they recap this past week in Eagle sports. Also sure to entertain, each week we'll hear from an exciting feature Eagle as they discuss the week's upcoming matches and games. And now, here are your hosts, Coach Shep, Coach Graves, and Coach Graham.
Welcome into the Eastern Athletics Podcast. I am your everyday host, Athletic Director Joe Schepper. I am not joined by my regular co-host, Dylan Graham. He's out there subbing for some security guarding. But I am joined with your regional championship baseball coach, TJ Thomas Graves, who's he freaking likes it. He freaking loves it. He freaking loves it. He freaking loves it. He freaking loves it, okay? And we're joined also by a regular recurring guest, Mike Horan, Mr. Eastern, who's going to give us a rundown of track, because I've heard some good, interesting stuff about the state track meet coming up, which we'll talk more about that as we get there. And our special guest today, first time on the program, only begged for the entire time we've had the program.
Persistence is key in this.
Persistence. I mean, he is a painfully persistent little kid.
It's literally how I got married. Persistence.
By the way, before we announce who he is, we are sponsored by East End Plumbing Supply. East End Plumbing Supply, your only plumbing supplier for Eastern Athletics. We're joined by East End Plumbing Supply Employee of the Month.
And future beneficiary, right? Is
Yeah,
that what you call it?
he's Succession.
This
Last week of Succession.
Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it, yeah. So, Mason Jackson on the podcast. First student on the podcast. First student on the podcast.
He is visibly nervous.
I'm the
He's
first student on the
visibly
podcast.
nervous.
Okay. I'm the
There's
first
like
student on the
24
podcast,
people
right?
listening. Just don't be nervous.
But I listen to it every week.
Okay.
And I also notice I'm mentioned like
A
every
lot.
week. I would say
You're in our hearts
out
every
of
week.
every student in this building,
Don't stutter.
I have been mentioned the most. And I haven't done a single lick of athleticism.
Yeah. Well, no, you're on a soccer
You play
team.
two sports.
Holy
I know,
cow.
but when the podcast
Bowling's not
first
a
started
sport.
coming, okay, it is.
Yeah.
It
Hey,
is.
did you see?
Your guys'
did you,
bowl.
tell me you saw did you post that on the bowling Instagram?
No, I haven't done it yet.
They're the one of the ones of Henry flexing after winning the region. It just says he bowls.
Oh, no,
That's
no,
all
no,
it
no,
says.
no, I said, what did I do? I said, this guy bowls.
Yeah, that's
And then it was because the courier posted a picture of
Yeah.
Craig, and then one of them was Elmore, too.
Yeah.
So I posted the one of Craig. I'm like, this guy bowls.
Yeah.
And then the one of Elmore, I'm like, big bowler energy.
Yeah.
All right, so recap of the week. We can let Mason chime in when he wants. Since the last podcast, nothing's happened with track. They've been in there dormant, getting prepared for state. So we're going to skip over track. Lacrosse is done. Tennis is done. Baseball is the only one alive. We already talked about the ending of the softball season. So baseball, in the time since the last podcast, baseball did the unthinkable and defeated the second-ranked St. X Tigers in front of a large crowd, mostly blue, at Jim Patterson Stadium, 3-0 behind Henry Craig going full Henry, as
Yep.
I've heard it is.
Yep.
The curse of the picture is a thing, and it is gone. Like the picture's gone. I mean, the
Mason was the first person to take down, by the way. He was the first person to take
Bad
down.
mojo.
He
That
recognized
thing is
it.
gone.
Listen, let me say this. The kids,
Hold on, stats from the game real
Okay.
quick. Just so Bart, we had who had a double? There wasn't many hits because
no. Now, we had 8 hits. Child, please. Do we have 8? 4?
I don't know.
I think we had 8.
I know that Brandon Nettles had a 2 RBI single over the shortstop, and the first run was scored on an RBI.
Single by Ethan Elmore.
That's correct.
Scored Carroll. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and Mark Harmon gunned a dude.
Mark
I mean,
Harmon.
just gunned a
We
dude
call
to
him
end an inning.
Postseason mark. Listen, the gauntlet that they went through, if people don't know, they played Cow, Ballard, Male, Manual, then X. A 5-game gauntlet that is absolutely earned.
And if I remember correctly, Ballard was like number 10 in the state.
Ballard was 10th, I think.
Manuel was 3. St. X was 2.
And beat the number 1.
I told somebody we played in the semifinals at U of L. We played in a 4-team tournament with number 1, 2, and 3 in the state,
Yep.
and we won.
And we
weren't
out.
one of them.
And we came out.
That's pretty good stuff.
It's great stuff. Henry Craig, I know we're making him the king of Middletown. He deserves every bit of it because he literally hit a fork in the road, and
Absolutely.
and he changed the trajectory of our season by doing what he did the last 2 games. It is It sounds over dramatic, but literally,
I mean, he even did that in the game.
yes.
Because we got to the end and we get that duck fart over
Yeah.
first base hit,
Yeah.
and then he hits the next guy, and everybody and their brother in that stadium was not assuming but thinking,
Right.
oh God, here it comes.
Because he hit the next guy.
Correct.
And I'm saying, oh my God, like we've seen this movie before. And we call it bow in your neck. He bowed his neck and put us on his back and got the dub. I can't be more proud. I love him.
I mean, it was an amazing thing. The students showed out.
Mason Jackson
they
was
stormed
on
the field. I had
He
to
was on the
keep.
field.
I had to try to keep them off the field, but they're well behaved.
you
They
can't-
just charged,
Very
and they were
well-behaved.
yeah.
You can't hold in passion.
It was an awesome night to be an Eagle, to say the least. And now our friend Graves here has become a media darling.
Not on purpose.
I think he's practically a meme status.
I am a
think
meme,
I
not
saw,
on purpose, man.
I saw it on all over the place. I mean, this guy loves the camera loves him.
So Mike Horan, as
I
a
do
fellow
not love the
fellow
camera.
office
Someone
lover,
called you a gift.
you do remember
Can
that
somebody tell
on
my
Michael
wife that?
Scott's last episode, he went around and gave everybody a gift, and he gave Kevin a gift that was him as a cartoon pig, and it said like oink oink, give me food or something like that, and he tore it up in front of him, and he looked at Kevin in the face and he said, "Don't be a meme, Kevin."
Yeah.
So Graves has become a
Listen,
meme.
it's not ideal. I'm hoping that.
So he did pull a full Herb Brooks, though. You did see that, right?
No.
So yesterday, like the news people have been calling kind of slowly. It's kind of funny to see who's like actually on the news and who's just watching everybody else's news and then regurgitating the same story. So I think it was DRB came out yesterday. Okay.
WOKY was yesterday.
Well, whichever one, there was no TJ Graves in the whole thing. It was all Kyle Carden. Like, they literally made. He did him the Herb Brooks where he said, because you remember in Miracle when Herb Brooks, they're like, you just want to come out here and do your own press conferences. And he's like, oh, I do? And then he sent the assistant the next game. So
I want zero more FaceTime or what's that called? Media time. I want zero more.
Coach, you've got a real gift. I mean, I would not back away from it. I love it. Here's what I love. You had your passion. You shared your passion for Eastern High School, for the city of Middletown, who, by the way, is one of our, we're happy to be Middletown's high school.
Yep.
You were all over it. You were thanking the athletes.
Yep.
I mean, it was.
Yep.
it
And
was-
I just for the record, I have thanked
I
my
love
AD multiple times, and they haven't aired it on.
Oh,
just
really?
For the record, I have.
I thought that was probably
And
where-
my
You
principal.
probably said your AD and Anchorage
my
and everything else.
superintendent
And Anchorage.
my AP.
All right, so they're in the state tournament, and interestingly enough, we drew the other Kentucky or the other Louisville region, so we will be playing Bullitt East. Bullitt East won the nightcap of that game. They won it on a no-hitter over at Fern Creek.
Yeah, Duke can pitch.
Duke can pitch, and he's going to be a different look than
Yep.
St. X, because St. X came out throwing 93, and that
Right.
kid didn't touch 80, but
Right.
that don't mean that he can't get it
No,
done. We've
he
seen
can
plenty of
pitch.
baseball.
Yep.
So we do get Bullitt East and the crafty Jeff Bowles at the
Yep.
helm.
Yep.
Probably one of the more beloved
Yep.
high school baseball coaches in the city.
He's the best.
He is, and with his Butler assistant coaching ranks, did you know this now? He's up to three. Like two of his assistants I coached at Butler, Dallas Atkins and Braxton
Yep.
Cavero, and then he has Mike Bryant over there.
Yep.
And Mike Bryant coached Adam Duvall at Butler.
Well-
they're basically Butler recreated over there.
Literally, everybody from Shively is moving to Bullitt County, Mount Washington. So it is Butler East.
Correct.
Speaking of legendary coaches, I did run into former Eastern basketball coach legend Jason Couch at the middle school state
yeah.
track meet, and Jason Couch called our part of the bracket the Jason Couch Invitational because he, of course, coached at Eastern, coached at Shelby County, currently coaches at Bullitt East.
Yeah.
So he was proud to see all of his schools representing well, but we want Blue to come out of that side of the
Heck
bracket.
yeah, dog.
Graves, tell them the story of the original 97 regional.
Yeah, so Coach Page, I've never met him. Do you remember him, Coach?
Vaguely.
Okay, so never met him. There's this guy standing in our dugout before the game, and he kind of waves me over, and I'm like, oh my God, what we got here? So I walk over there, and he introduces himself, says, brother, you guys got this. I was the coach in 97. We played St. X. They were ranked 4th. We beat them. You got this. He gave me a couple words of inspiration, but it was awesome that he came down and introduced himself. It was kind of cool. So, yeah, that if you're listening, which you're not, but Thank you for coming. That was awesome.
I didn't know that. That was my team. I was at all those games watching those guys. That was a lot of good friends on that team. Let's run it back.
So the more I get into it, that's the golden generation of Eastern High School.
Yeah, because basketball won the state.
Mason doesn't want to hear it.
Eastern athletics at that time.
My dad graduated in '97, and he won't shut up about it because soccer won, girls track won, basketball won, baseball was good, football beat Trinity that year, I believe.
It was a couple years before, but yeah, during our high school career, we had 5 total state championships and a couple other regional championships. It was a real deal.
Eastern legend Trey Moses showing up
Legend.
during the podcast. During the podcast.
You want to come say hi?
You want to come say hi?
Come on over, man.
He's now, I don't
We
think
meant to
he's
do this earlier, but we had to get Tony's T-shirt delivery in. This is Mason Jackson. He's one of our students. Trey Moses, what graduate of Eastern?
2015.
2015. Then went on to play.
I played at Ball State, and then I just finished my 4th year in Portugal.
That's super
That's
cool.
awesome.
He's coming to talk about doing some camps here for
Heck
kids.
yeah.
So
Awesome.
sorry, we got kind of caught up. So we're going to do the rest of our podcast. We got to listen to Horan talk track here, which will inevitably be quite long. But
I spoke to the senior class earlier today, and some of my runners said, Coach, we were super impressed. It only took you 3 minutes and 28 seconds, which means they time me every time I'm speaking now because I have a tendency for look.
all right, so baseball Friday or Thursday,
Yes.
1:30 in Lexington. We'll have all the updates on Twitter. We'll probably have an emergency podcast after it if we win. If they do win,
10 a.m. on
10
Saturday.
a.m. on Saturday
Wake
versus
up early,
the
Mason. I know.
versus the Shelby
Wake up
County.
I'm in the 19 games this season.
You guys
You
been in
think I'll
19.
be there?
And he was the unofficial bat boy for senior night.
I can't just say Bat Boy of the Year.
You know what I love about Mason is he doesn't want any recognition. You know, he's lays in the grass, doesn't want any recognition.
He just wanted to be on the podcast. That's it.
No.
All right, so Mike, also on Saturday, state track meet, which we've qualified. How many people do you know the stats?
I think we have 41 athletes between boys, girls, and unified that have qualified. It's a big group, and we got some good weapons in the arsenal.
Okay, so we got 41 people going. So our girls team finished runner-up in the region, correct? How many regions are there?
There are 7 regions in track. Yeah.
So they should be in the top 15 for sure, hopefully even better.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say, to win a regional championship and to win a state championship are really different skill sets. The last time our girls won a state championship, they did not win the regional championship. To win a regional championship, you got to be deep. You got to have people scoring, 1 through 6 and lots of events. To win the state championship, you got to have some star power. You got to have weapons that are going to come in first, second, third in the state. So it's really a different skill set to win a state championship than a regional championship.
So how are we looking?
Our girls, I think 13 of our qualifiers are on the girls' side, but we have some outstanding athletes. I mean, a big part of the nucleus of last year's group is back. That's Raven Payne, Aaliyah Allen, Shella Blinko, kind of led the team last year.
Last year the team finished third in the state.
state
Okay.
last year. Emily Bird graduated. She was a big part of that team. But Sophia Rector's here now, and she's running like one of the best athletes in the state. She became eligible just a week or so before the regional championship, and so her trajectory, her rate of improvement should be very, very good. She had a great regional meet and won the 100, the 200, and the 400, and was a big part of our 4x4 that qualified and should be a score at the state meet. So, I mean, she's running really well. Raven and Aaliyah are the next level from where they've been before. We've got some other athletes that have been performing on relays and stepping up in some other ways. So, we think we can score a lot of points. Manual's going to be very, very good. They're the defending state champions. West Jessamine was second last year, and those two teams are really the two big opponents that'll be in the mix to win the state championship this year. Manual's qualified a lot of athletes in a lot of events. They're definitely the favorite in my book, but I know we'll be going after them, doing everything we can to see what kind of trophy we can bring back to Eastern.
And hopefully we're leaving a winning baseball game if we're going over there to check out some track and field. And I'll tell you what, those of you planning to go to Lexington, pack some water and maybe a sleeping bag, because in Lexington this weekend, state track, state baseball, state tennis, regional NCAA baseball at the University of Kentucky, Railbird Music Festival at the Red Mile.
State softball, too.
State softball, too. There isn't a single hotel room in the city. I know we're not staying. We're going back and forth. But nonetheless, it's going to be wild for parking over there in Lexington this weekend. So we will have all the updates on our Twitter. Hopefully Mike sends me updates while he's sprinting back and forth across the field screaming at everyone. I don't know if you know we've talked about this before. How many steps do you put in on a track meet day?
Sometimes it's over 30,000 on a busy track.
Not that you're counting.
I need to give our guys a shout out too. I mean, our girls are going to be in the mix, but our guys qualified more athletes than our girls did. We don't have quite the star power up front. But Connor Gasser, Sincere Ellison have been nucleus of our team. Theo Breckenridge has been a big part of what we're doing. And we got a great group of distance runners. We've qualified in all of the distance events too. So Dylan Ellis, Jack Braden, Nate Powers, Trevor Rolls. I mean, a great group of guys, and they're going to be trying to score as many points as they can. I think it'd be a great day for our guys if they're in the top 10 and mixing up with some of the best teams in Kentucky. So it should be a lot of fun. It would be
awesome. The boys' side's got a lot of firepower here in the state of Kentucky for sure.
Do you have anything to add, Mason?
Can I say my list of accolades?
Yes, Mason.
All right.
Please do, Mason.
I would love to say my list of accolades, right?
All right, time out. So we didn't prepare questions for Mason, so he's just going to prepare his own.
Right.
So this is basically the opening question of tell us about yourself, Mason.
And this is hard for Mason because he doesn't want credit for it. This is very hard for Mason.
I am the most humble person of all time.
Comfort zone here.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so I was the captain of the soccer team. I was a member of the bowling team. Shout out Coach B. Just got Instagram this week.
Okay.
He is on social media. Coach B is on social media. Best coach at Eastern High School.
He has already told me
He's
already told me 3 times that he's going to sneak a neon green bowling ball into the graduation, into the graduation, so that all his senior bowlers can put their hands on it and their capping out and take a picture.
He gave us little cards that say Goblin Bowling Team on them.
Keep going. What are your other accolades?
I did unified basketball, which was a ball. I did cross country freshman year because Coach Horan's the best cross country coach in the state of Kentucky. I was the bowling media manager, best media manager.
Continuing.
Nobody cares about bowling.
Continuing.
Keep going.
You continue to be the bowling media manager.
Yeah, I am. Okay, I still am.
You were the one that retweeted the baseball players saying they bowl.
They bowl.
Time.
This guy bowls.
Keep going.
That's why he's so good. He bowls.
Keep him focused.
I'm an East End Plumbing Supply employee and ambassador. I hand out East End Plumbing Supply shirts from my car like I'm dealing drugs.
Yes.
We don't know anything
about not that. I'm sorry.
Mikey's giving out cool shirts to
He's giving out cool East End Plumbing Supply shirts, which are free. I'm Shep's most underrated aide. I'm a professional Joe Schepper impersonator in vaudeville. That was dang good. I'm a self-proclaimed baseball superfan. Been to 19 games, 20.
That is,
if we're counting tomorrow.
That's
gonna be 21,
confirmed.
probably
confirmed.
20 something. You know. I was the baseball senior night bat boy.
It was an embarrassment.
Embarrassment? Not an embarrassment because I'm the KHSAA
officially
bat boy
scored
of the year.
as a C- prom date.
Oh.
I was scored as that.
Did you not have that on your list of accolades?
That's not on my list of accolades. No, you were told that?
Pretty good.
Fantastic night for me.
Had a great time.
Fantastic.
All right.
And I'm the first ever student guest on the Eastern Athletics podcast.
That's true.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Thank you.
And the most reoccurring name in the podcast.
Thank you, Mason.
Yes.
Thank you, Mason.
And his father is one of our officers in the Eastern Alumni Association.
Yeah.
If you're an Eastern alumni and haven't joined the Alumni Association yet, find us on Facebook. And we'd love to have
I
you
did
join.
the little Google form today.
You're now, as of tomorrow at about 9.
All right, Mount Rushmore, real quick. Mount Rushmore of next students to be on the podcast.
Ooh.
Who will be your next student to be on the podcast? I'm going to go first. Henry Craig, when he shoves the weekend. When he shoves the weekend and we get into the state semifinal, I take Henry Craig as the next guest with about 3 words that he puts into the podcast.
No, I'll get him going.
You get Henry going? All right, who you got?
I think we're going to bring some hardware back, so it's going to have to be one of our athletes on the track team. Raven Payne has been a great leader for 4 years. We'll put Raven Payne on the podcast next.
Mason?
I think it's got to be one of your aides for next year, right?
I don't even know my aides for next
I know,
year.
but we've been going through the prospects. Like it's like a draft analysis. So here's a bold prediction right here: Andrew Key.
Andrew Key. Andrew Key would be a good podcast guy. He likes to talk sports. Henley, he'd be a good podcast guy. Andrew Key, for sure. All right, that's all we got today. Tomorrow, 1:30, Eastern versus Boyd East. If you cannot make it to the game, it will be on khsaa.tv. You get the whole tournament for $10.99. Okay, the ticket itself is $16, so that you at least save on watching it on the stream.
That subscription might also include.
It does include the track state championship. So $10.99 a month.
9 o'clock till about 2 o'clock on Saturday.
If you're like me though, you're going to sign up for it and then forget you signed up for it, and then 4 months later it's going to be $40 and you cancel it and you didn't use it for 3 months. But
got to set a reminder on your phone.
Okay, got it. You got anything to add, Mason?
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles is right. Got anything to add, Graves?
Go Eagles. Fly was fine.
They got to play us.